High in the Himalayas, a massive geological engine kicks into gear every spring. Millions of tons of snow and ice melt, forming violent torrents of water that rush down the steep mountain faces. The Ganges and Brahmaputra rivers channel this runoff into one geographic bottleneck, the Bengal Delta. Funneling this water into a flat basin creates extreme volatility. During summer monsoons, rivers routinely inundate 60% of the landmass. You would expect a perpetually drowned landscape to be a wasteland. Instead, this flooded basin grew into one of the most agriculturally productive and staggeringly wealthy regions on the planet. How exactly a geography defined by catastrophic flooding managed to generate so much wealth is a biological marvel. But that exact wealth would eventually turn the Delta into the ultimate target for the largest corporate empire in history. As these floodwaters race toward the sea, they transport over 1 billion metric tons of ultra-fertile Himalayan silt, depositing a fresh layer of nutrient-rich soil across the delta every year. To survive the deep waters, local farmers cultivated specialized crops like floating rice. As the floodwaters rise, the stems of these rice plants rapidly elongate, sometimes growing up to 6 meters long, allowing the grain to literally float on top of the swelling rivers. Mastering this specialized agriculture provided a massive, reliable calorie surplus. We can see the deep roots of this system in ancient terracotta figures from the region, showing early inhabitants easily harvesting crops and establishing dense, permanent settlements. When a society no longer struggles to feed itself, labor is freed up for other pursuits. Generations of Delta residents turn their attention to specialized manufacturing. By the early modern period, they dominated the global export markets for highly sought-after goods like fine silk and woven cotton. The inhabitants of the Delta took the raw, destructive power of the flood cycle and harnessed it. They built an economic engine that turned an uninhabitable marsh into a wildly lucrative manufacturing powerhouse. By the 18th century, the sheer scale of the Delta's textile wealth caught the attention of European traders, most notably the British East India Company. After a series of military victories, the company secured something called the Diwani. This was a legal decree from the Mughal emperor that granted the British the right to collect state revenues and taxes across the entire Bengal region. This flowchart illustrates the mechanism of the Diwani. It rerouted the sovereign taxation authority of the state directly into the hands of a private foreign corporation. Suddenly, the revenue generated by the Delta wasn't being collected to maintain local infrastructure. It was being extracted to maximize shareholder profit back in London. Historically, local rulers adjusted their tax rates to account for environmental shocks, lowering demands during severe floods or droughts. The East India Company replaced that flexibility with rigid quotas, extracting higher and higher percentages of wealth, regardless of the conditions on the ground. Handing the controls of a delicate, biologically driven economy over to an entity engineered strictly for financial extraction created a highly unstable system. It set the stage for total collapse. The consequences of this rigid corporate taxation became devastatingly clear in 1769. When a severe drought hit the region, the company refused to offer any tax relief or distribute food stores. The resulting famine killed an estimated 7 to 10 million people, up to a third of the Delta's population. Meanwhile, to ensure British manufacturing mills had no competition, the company began systematically dismantling Bengal's high-value textile industry, heavily taxing local weavers and pushing their products out of the market. With the textile industry crippled, the region's agricultural output was forcefully redirected. Farmers were coerced into abandoning food crops to grow raw cash crops. They were pushed into grueling labor at industrial vats to process natural indigo dye, alongside massive outputs of raw cotton and opium. These specific materials were chosen for a reason. The raw cotton fed the mills in Britain, while the highly profitable opium was funneled into large underground markets in China, generating the capital needed to fund further British imperial expansion. Within a few decades, the entire economic structure of the Delta was rewired. It no longer produced wealth to sustain its own population. It operated entirely as an extractive supply engine for a foreign empire. This relentless extraction eventually pushed the population to a breaking point. Decades of mounting pressure ignited massive pushback, from the widespread Indian Rebellion in 1857 to the peasant-led Indigo Rebellion shortly after. These uprisings were severe enough to force the British government to step in and completely abolish the East India Company. But by then, the structural damage was done. The subcontinent's transition from an independent manufacturer to a dependent supplier of raw materials was already locked in. The exact same geological forces, the massive silt deposits and the predictable, intense flooding that allowed an ancient civilization to generate immense surplus value, also made it a prime target for exploitation. In the face of systemic imperial extraction, the Bengal Delta's incredible natural abundance didn't protect it. Instead, it became its greatest vulnerability.